What's up, YouTube? Northeast Ohio, back for the week in review. And today we are all NBA all the time because the NBA market is a sizzling. I got a few different cards pulled out for us to talk about today, all of which are in Market Movers. Link down below to the software that I'm using in this video and a coupon code for a discount off your first month or year, depending on how you wish to purchase. And some Amazon shenanigans down there. Also, like, comment, sub, all the YouTube nonsense. All right, let's go. All right. This past week, we are 100% out of the dip for the NBA market. It is on the rise. Not 100% across the board, but pretty much most stuff is starting to creep up. Some stuff more than others. The more trendy guys are definitely gaining a lot of traction. And I think this upcoming week is a big potential week for the NBA market to really get shaken up. We have the NBA draft this week. We have the trade season kicking in this week. Free agency rumors are going to be in the full swing. It is basically all systems go this upcoming week. So I will be curious to see what this stuff looks like a week from now. But we are into it. We are now, 5 weeks away, 6 weeks away from the NBA season starting. 5 weeks. We are 5 weeks away from the NBA season starting. That is crazy. And there is a lot of stuff that needs to happen in those 5 weeks. So the next month is going to be wild. If you have not bought players that you want to buy yet, you are asleep at the wheel. So I don't know what you're doing, but get the buy-in because it's going to shift into selling season and hold season pretty quick here. So let's get into it. So I have 5 different cards / players pulled up here. And I ran the charts back 14 days. All of these have gone up in the last 7. Percentages vary a little bit, but the 14-day chart just kind of shows you a better trend line of what's going on here. So I pulled the 14-day chart, but all these cards are up at least 5 to 25 to 30% in some regards over the last 7, just kind of depending on the card. So the first one we have, and I really think he kind of drives the whole market for the most part, that's Luka, base prism, PSA 10. We talk about this card constantly. But this is the one that really tells you, I think it's the one that really gives you a good idea on what's going on here. And what we are seeing is this card climbing. Once again, 14-day chart. At the start of this 14 days, the average sale price was $1,400. As of today, it is now $1,700. Last sale 11/14 for an ending average of $1,700. And this card is definitely creeping back up again. Will it hit 2K? Probably at some point in time this season, depending on how he comes out and how he looks, will determine a lot of how high that it goes, obviously. But I do think this card can easily crack through 2K if he comes out and starts dropping triple doubles left and right. Again, like he did at the start of last season, and he did to finish off this season. But Luka is all systems go. His stuff is up across the board. Some stuff more than others. Up next, Trae Young, his counterpart, also up. As you can see, once again, 14-day chart. This is his PSA 10 Prism. At the start of this, it was going for around 450. At the end of this 2-week period, it is up over 550. So it's almost $100 in 2 weeks, up 20% in a 2-week period of time. And once again, this card's probably going to go up another 20 or 30% before the NBA season starts. And depending on how he plays, could skyrocket. I could easily see Trae Young PSA 10 Prism, if he plays well, being $1,000 card at some point in time this season. If Luka can get to 2K, there is no reason why Trae can't get to 1K. None whatsoever. So if he comes out and starts dropping 30, 40, 50 points a night, I think he could easily get to 1K. I don't like to speculate too much on prices, but just based off what Luke is going for, I don't see why Trae can't be half of that at least. And once again, Trey stuff is up pretty much across the board. His optic is up, his select stuff is up, Donruss, hoops, all that stuff trending on the upward direction on pretty much all the charts and graphs. So if you want Trey, still plenty of time to buy in. You definitely missed the bottom over the last few weeks, but still plenty of room for his stuff to go up all around. Up next, another one. We're pretty much talking about the core guys today because it kind of really shows the baseline of what the market is doing across the rest of the NBA. Zion, PSA 10, Prism, love him or hate him. Over the last 14 days, he's up 13%. He's cracked back up over $600. He started the 2-week period off at 550, and he's now up to 620. You know, how high does this card go? We'll see what happens once he shows up in training camp and some video comes out of him. We talk about this all the time. It's going to just take a couple photos or a video of him working out or looking good, or a preseason game if they're going to have preseason games. Him throwing a jam down on someone, and his stuff's going to go wild. Now, if he comes out and looks like the Pillsbury Doughboy, I have a feeling the market could fall out of the bottom of him very quickly. Just based off people getting shook from what happened last year or this past season in the NBA playoffs or in the bubble when he looked like crap. So if he comes out and looks like Bane, we're in good shape. If he comes out and looks like the Doughboy, we got trouble. So we'll see what happens. Hopefully he got his act together and got in shape and is ready to rock and roll. I know people like to hate on Zion, and I'm not a big fan of his per se from a collecting standpoint. I like to watch the guy play. He's fun. But regardless of what you feel about him, we are better off as a hobby if Zion is good, because it drives the market. If people get burned on Zion, if a lot of people put money into Zion that came in, didn't really know what they were doing, just throwing money around, hearing the hype, and they get burned big time on him, that could leave a sour taste in their mouth and could affect the hobby as a whole. I'm not saying if Zion sucks that the whole hobby is going to collapse, but I don't think it helps it by any means. Whereas if he is good and the hype machine keeps kicking on Zion, that's just going to be more eyes, which bring more wallets and more money to the hobby. So that's my 2 cents on Zion. Not a huge fan of him. I don't want to have a ton of his stuff for long-term holds, but I do think he is good for the general state of the overall market. Another one. We've been talking about this guy on the last video. We talked about Ayton, or last market video. My last video was the PSA reveal. Crushed it. Ayton over the last 14, up 16%, up $20, 127 to 150. And I see his stuff just keep going up. The Suns are trendy, as we talked about in that NBA transactions video. They're rumored to get Chris Paul. They're going to do something. They are going to attempt to be a playoff contention team. Devin Booker brings a lot of eyes to that team. Ayton had a weird season last year because he was hurt for a large portion of it. He should be healthy coming into this season and should put up pretty good numbers. I think he was kind of the forgotten guy. So I really like Ayton for the price point. I've been looking to get in on some of his PSA 9s on the cheap. So I haven't had any luck yet. I keep getting just outbid right at the very end on everything that I've been chasing on him. But I definitely continue to see his stuff trend in the right direction, as the Suns are kind of a trendy team. And that stuff matters. You guys got to have their finger on the pulse on who's the... I know we talk about the buzzy guys all the time. Like Bull and KPJ and MPJ and Kobe White and those guys that haven't quite broken out yet, but they're just waiting to catch fire. And when I say catch fire, not necessarily the player, but the player's cards. Whereas if they just do anything, the market explodes on them because everyone loves them. Everyone talks about them all the time. There's a huge following behind the player, even though he hasn't done a lot. Ayton's not necessarily one of those guys, but the Suns are one of those teams. So definitely worth keeping an eye on. And speaking of good old MPJ, Mr. Trendy himself, his PSA 10 Prism up 27% over the last 2 weeks, up $50, jumped from 180 to 230. And pretty much all his stuff is up as well. I am very intrigued by MPJ. I think he's put the back injury stuff behind him. And he showed last season in the bubble that he has the ability to rack it up. And I think the genie is out of the bottle. They're going to have to give him playing time. Part of me was kind of hoping they would trade him, but it sounds like, by all reports, he is essentially untouchable. Maybe for like a Bradley Beal or something like that, but not for like a Drew Holiday or anything like that. But the Nuggets have basically put out the word that he's not going anywhere now. That could just be nonsense. Who knows? But that's the word on the street from all the NBA insiders on all the podcasts and Twitter and all that nonsense. So, but I do really like MPJ. I think this price rise is 100% justifiable. I have not a ton, but I have a few things of him already. And he would be one that I would be looking to hold throughout most of the season. He's not one I would be looking to flip during the build up to the start of the season. There are certain guys I definitely want to move right at the beginning or right before the season starts because I have concerns about them. And there are other guys that I definitely want to hold into the season and see what happens and kind of take the risk because I think there's a lot more upside versus the downside of them. So that's all I have for you guys today. So do all the YouTube nonsense down below. Not sure what the next video is going to be about yet, but it'll probably be out early this week. We will catch you guys on that one, and peace.